Hey guys, it's been a while since I made any of these videos. um, I have been immensely struggling for probably 3 months now. And yes, what you're seeing are flashcards because my thoughts are so jangled in my brain that I won't remember what I actually need to say. Be forewarned, the term and use of ego or self-ego, suicidal ideations, and uh, generally deep concepts, I suppose, will be in this video. So if you don't want to hear it, then click off now. Anyways, let's get into it. So about a month and a half ago, I attempted to take my life, obviously unsuccessfully, by taking a copious amount of medication that I had and washing it back with a disgusting amount of hard liquor, hoping I would not wake up. Not only that, did I catch someone in the crossfire and lose my complete shit because I had been having these thoughts for months and they were boiling and boiling and boiling to the top, and it came out all wrong, obviously, when you're in the state I was. Anyways, so I woke up the next morning still alive, yay! Another failed attempt, go Paul. And then I slept for 2 days while my body re-regulated itself. My liver hurt, my kidneys hurt, my brain hurt, my body hurt. I literally felt like I got hit by a Mack truck. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because, for one, tis the season, and COVID has really fucked with this season. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel alone out there, but also because I think a lot of people could reflect on what I'm about to talk about and maybe see it within themselves. And it took me laying in bed for an entire month. I'd go to work, I'd come home, I'd lay in bed and think, and then I'd go to sleep. And it took me a month to start to figure out why I was constantly feeling like this, because I was on medication. Didn't help. I was seeing a psychologist. It didn't help. I saw a psychiatrist. It didn't help. Nothing was helping. So I had to fix this myself. And I initially, here comes the flashcard, realized I needed to forgive. The way I was feeling was an egotistical feeling that I was wronged, I was right, and people are shit, and I'm done with it. Forgiveness is not an easy thing to do, and I'm not saying I'm strong. My mental fortitude is that of a fucking turtle, I'm sure. Well, they probably have more than that. They are born into the sand and hawks are flying down, or seagulls, and eating them, but they still make it. Regardless, it's not easy to forgive. Weak people cannot forgive because of their ego. Their ego just won't let them forgive because it leads to the idea that they might have a little something to do with the problem. Another thing I had to realize and come to terms with is conceding to the illusion of control. Sure, you can control what you eat every day. You can control what kind of car you drive for the most part. You can control what TV shows you watch. But there's one main thing you cannot control, and that is people and their thoughts, their mindsets, their beliefs, and I needed to concede to that illusion that I had any control over that in any person in my life, and accept that they have their own ego. And I'm not saying ego is wrong in a fundamental sense. Ego can drive you to get a good job. Ego can drive you to succeed. Ego can drive you to, keep going down that path of success. But an ego can also lead to self-destruction and self-delusions and things that most people don't really stop and think about. And that's what I had to lay in bed and think about. Was I deluded? And I came to the idea that a lot of my thought processes were quite deluded. And they were deluded because when an ego is not satisfied or recognized, it gets hurt. You get a hurt ego, and a hurt ego can lead to anger, aggravation, sometimes heartbreak. There's tons of things that broken ego can lead to, opposed to success. Yes, it's good to have an ego. It's good to have good self-image. But when that's completely always exhausted and pushed to the extent, that's when it can lead to, I guess, the feeling of worthlessness. Another big thing, and these are 3 major keys that I kind of landed on, was being thankful. Happy people are thankful, but thankful people are truly happy. And you can take that as it is, because you could be like, it means the same thing, but to me it means something completely different. Because I was neither. I wallowed, and in my own, I suppose, self-hatred, self-pity. It was fucking terrible. And the worst part is I saw myself spiraling down to this point for months. And last year, 2019, I stopped drinking December 1st for 10 months, I believe. Darn close to it, darn tootin'. And all of a sudden everything just started crashing down for me, and I felt that spiral again. And because I was medicated, I didn't know how to express myself, or who to talk to, or who to be truthful with. I didn't really trust anyone to understand what I was going through, so I just kept it to myself. And that's essentially what boiled over to a month and a half ago, where I was like, fuck this, I'm done. And I'm not doing this anymore. This is my choice to end my life, and I'm choosing to do it. I did not for once think about the things that I could be thankful for. All I was thinking about are the things that were swirling around in my head, all the negative things, all the things I had been through, the feelings I had felt. And that's what drove my ego into the ground. And everything that I felt and everything I went through was based off my own self-ego. It wasn't being recognized. It wasn't being acknowledged. It was being ignored. And when an ego is ignored, it gets pretty fucking angry, I can tell you that. And shit, I was angry. And I laid in bed there and I realized I need to be thankful. Vaping, still the coolest thing ever, right? Anyways, once I realized that I needed to be thankful and I needed to lose the illusion of control and forgive even if some people don't want my forgiveness, even if they don't think they should be forgiven, that is what I needed to do. And so I've kind of gone over this already, but I had to let go of my ego. It expected recognition, and when it wasn't there or validated or came to fruition, it manifested anger, hate, resentment, and like I said, in some cases, just general heartbreak. And heartbreak can come from friendship. It doesn't necessarily have to come from a lover. And my ego was so damaged, that's all it could manifest were those feelings. And I had to really process this thought and realize that I am one person among many, and everyone is allowed their own sense of self-worth and their own self-ego if it's helping them cope with what they need to. Might be a long video, I'm not sure. I already went through how your ego can drive you for success, but an overexertion of it or the over expectation of it can be exhausting and cause unhealthy habits. And my unhealthy habits was the feeling of like self-hatred. I started drinking again to self-medicate, and for a bit it helped. I would feel happy when I was drinking, and then the next day I would feel really hungover, but that hangover was so much better than feeling the shitty emotions that I had been feeling every day, because all I could concentrate on was, am I going to puke? Why are my guts so rotten? I don't want to leave my bed because I feel like shit. I didn't really think about anything else that was bothering me besides how shitty I felt. So it was a really fucked up way of self-medicating. Get drunk, be happy, feel like shit the next day, and not have to think about anything else but how shitty I felt. Those were some of my unhealthy habits. Again, not accepting other people's, or the loss of control of other people's decisions or how they want to live their life was another bad habit I created. I couldn't wrap my head around these type of mentalities, and that's another bad habit that I created, which I'm currently trying to squash really, really hard. Every night, I forgive the people that I feel like, and let me say, feel like they wronged me. I voice what I'm thankful for every night and every morning, or anytime I start to feel that dreadful, insidious feeling of anxiety and anger sneaking up on me. I'll go through the same thing, whether it's night, the morning, or throughout the day. And I do find that it really helps. It almost reminds me that, hey, your ego is trying to take over again. Don't let it. Biggest thing, well, one of the biggest thing is facing the void that your ego is not provided. Despite the pain of doing so, literally live in the tangible, live in the real, regardless of how uncomfortable it feels. And my psychologist told me this, and I didn't believe her. And I said, I'm fine with being medicated. I'm okay with being zombified. I don't want to fucking feel anything. And she told me sometimes you have to sit in it and you have to feel it and you have to realize it in order to get past it. And I was having none of that. I was like, no, I don't. I'm like, I can't handle that shit. So essentially facing the void of what my ego was not receiving has been actually kind of helping me create a different sense of ego, an understanding of others, and an understanding of my own and what it needs or what it wants versus what it needs, because those are two totally different things, and I'm sure I'll come to that. Another thing, there are two terms, alive time and dead time. Dead time is passively waiting while your ego expects results without action, which leads to the idea of, I want this, I don't want this, I want it my way. Again, this will only lead to anger and aggravation and negative mindsets, and it's so true. If your ego isn't getting what it wants, you're gonna get frustrated. I deserve this, I need this, I want this, why isn't it going my own way? But you don't see the other side where you need to lose the illusion of control. And that's a huge thing in my mind, the illusion of control, because you really have none. And it's a personal thing, essentially. To choose a live time is to learn and to act during that time, to not just sit there and wait for expectations, but create scenarios or create paths that will allow these expectations to come to fruition. Because sitting idly and not getting what you want and expecting it to, that's a huge fucking ego problem. And that's what I had, and what it did make me do. Swallow hundreds of pills and try to drink myself to death, and then just wake up and feel ashamed and feel embarrassed and feel like I hurt someone I shouldn't have. It was bullshit. Another huge thing is, when you find yourself in a hole, don't keep fucking digging. Everyone knows this, yet very people practice this. When you're in that hole, your ego is going to be shaken. It's going to be crying. It's going to be scared. It's going to be angry and lash out when not feeling acknowledged, or when it's feeling wounded. And the bottom line is, stop digging the fucking hole and making it worse. Instead, make a positive, egoless plan. And by saying that, I think it's pretty self-forward. Stop fucking digging yourself deeper by trying to feed your ego that's not being fed in the first place. It makes perfect sense. It's logical to think that way, yet a lot of people still do it. I've said this before, but try your best to choose love. A false ego can turn an insult or being ignored into hatred and essentially an unhealing sore that's just going to get worse and worse. Accept the loss of control for others and focus on your end of the equation, and leave others to find their own. You cannot complete an equation for anyone. If they don't want your help, if they don't require it, you can't offer them anything. Even if you're sitting there thinking you can, and you're right and they're wrong, you just can't. So focus on yourself. Focus on your own equation and make a positive plan. So I don't need those anymore. I have examples of me using my ego, or my ego using me rather, one of which was with a very close friend of mine, and who essentially is the person I stopped smoking cannabis for, I stopped drinking for. I wanted that person to see that I was able to make huge fundamental changes in my life, to show them that my friendship was worth their while, and that I could change, and that it could be a positive thing for both of us. Although throughout the months of not drinking, Of course, there was heated conversations, and that's when my ego stepped into hyperzone and was hurt. And when your ego is hurt, it manifests anger, at least for me. So even though I wasn't smoking weed, I wasn't drinking, if I wasn't hearing what I wanted to hear or being told what I wanted to be told, I would get angry. And the other person, I'm going to say, is as guilty as I am for perpetuating the anger within each other, I believe, because there was hurt behind it. And I tried and I failed and I tried and I failed. And I realized that every time I tried, something would go awry and my self-ego would kick in and feel neglected, and that would make things worse. I never stopped to think or to realize what that other person may have needed from me and may have needed to hear from me or needed to be told from me. I mean, I believe I tried to, but I don't think it really came out right considering the end result, which is we don't talk at all anymore. It went from a super close friendship where I trusted this person with my life. I felt 100% comfortable around them. They were essentially my person. Everyone has a person, and this person was mine. And it ended up with nothing because my ego would not let up. And that's just one instance. I didn't realize this though. I didn't realize that my ego was controlling every fucking move I made, like on autopilot. I had no idea this is what was going on, and that's why I was unable to fix it at the time. Another example, and this is kind of a weird one, and kind of like, I guess I'd say, what's the word I would put it as? I wouldn't go as far to say as infatuation, but there was this girl that I had met on social media, of course, because who fucking meets people in real life anymore? And I was immediately drawn to her. It was like intoxicating. I could literally feel the dopamine in my brain rising as I looked at pictures of her or heard her talk or, saw a picture of her smiling. I was just like, God, this girl is a fucking angel. And so I decided and this was well over a year ago, let's try to talk to her. And it took a bit, but she ended talking to me, and she opened up to me and told me a lot about her life, as much as she probably wanted to. And I was like, hey, we should get together sometime. I'd love to get to know you a bit more beyond this screen. And she wasn't really adverse to it, although she did tell me that she wasn't a person that most people would really want to know, and then continued to tell me some other personal reasons why. And I totally understand her reasoning behind not wanting to let people into her circle because of where her mindset was at. And I could, what's the word I'm looking for? I knew what she meant when she was telling me these things. I could really actually, what's the freaking word? Whatever. I knew what she was talking about. So over the time, we'd just kind of chat, and, I'd be like, we should really hang out. She's like, I'm not adverse to it. We got to make a plan. I'm just like, it's hard for me. I get anxious, I get nervous, so forth, so on. And I was fine with that. We still spoke, but then then my ego started getting a little feisty and being like, I'm not being validated. I'm trying hard here. Meanwhile, her life seems to consist of getting the attention of others. And I told her that. I was like, you'll post all these pictures, or, you'll even scandalous ones to the masses, yet you won't let someone in who generally wants to get to know you and be your friend. She told me, straight up, I don't have sex with people. I'm not a person that I can, like, anyone can be in a relationship with. She's damaged, in essentially in other words, which so am I. So just over the months, I just see this like reoccurring thing with her where and to me, maybe it's not what she's attempting, but to me it was validation from other people. And so that essentially is an ego-driven thing. Although I don't think it was the most positive way to get validation from people, that's how I believe she did it. And then I started to get a little annoyed at the fact that, sharing an ass pic with 2,000 people is more important than getting to know a single person who actually wants to get to know you. Again, ego. So this is where I came to the realization I had written something, and it was pretty much along the lines of what I just said. Like, there's someone that wants to get to know you, but, you're shutting the whole possibility out for whatever reason. And I reread it and I thought to myself, and this was before I attempted to take my life. I was like, shit, I'm doing this wrong. But so I just stopped. I realized with this person to concede to the illusion of control, because there is no way I can control how this girl views life, or views people, or views relationships with other people, or new people for that matter. To her, I was just a guy on the internet that she'd been talking to for over a year. To me, well, fuck. She was an angelic figure that all I wanted to do is get to know her and see her as a real person, and see if that figure in my head corresponded with the person I saw in real life. So I realized my ego, my bad ego, Mr. Hyde, I'd like to call it, was popping out. So again, like I said, I just stopped. And this realization came before all these new revelations in my own mind. And I don't know, it felt good to just fucking stop. And I've commented here and there on some, certain things she's posted and whatnot. And, she was bad at responding in the first place. So it doesn't bother me that she doesn't respond half the time. But it felt good to just let go of that self-ego and be like, it is what it is. Stop digging a hole that you're gonna regret being in, because one day maybe she'll be like, hey, we should meet. But if I were to dig that hole and keep getting more angry or feeling unvalidated or pissy about it, I could just stop, make a plan, move ahead, and just kind of put it to the wayside for now. So those were kind of two instances about my ego where I could not control it. and to where I realized it was my ego was needing to be fed. Feed me. If anyone's ever seen Little Shop of Horrors, that's what an ego is. And so, yeah. Anyways, this is a long video. I essentially made it because I wanted people to that might be in my same situation to be able to reflect that maybe a lot of their feelings and a lot of their feelings of self-defeat or self-loathing or feeling not validated really do come from your own mind. And it's easy, let me rephrase that. It can be easy enough to slowly change certain things about your ego one thing at a time. Whereas I found 3 things that I wanted to change about my self-ego, and I do it on a daily basis. And to be quite honest, I am starting to feel better already because I'm not relying on that aggressive ego to get me through the day. I'm not relying on that hate to push me through the day and say, this is why I'm living, to be angry at something, to hate something, to resent something. I'm gonna live for resentment. I decided I'm going to live to at least try to be happy and try to be thankful and try to lose that illusion of control and just, for fuck's sake, stop digging myself deeper in a hole, because with the first person I spoke of, I'm pretty sure I'm halfway to China. So yeah, if you can reflect on some of these things, if you're feeling that way and you're feeling like you're spiraling down, and you can stop, maybe it will help you, because it has helped me. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say. Your ego can be a good thing or a bad thing. Don't let it drive you into the ground, because it's really hard to pull yourself out of that. So I hope this reaches someone and helps. But yeah, remember, the ego can drive you to be great, or it can drive you straight into the fucking ground. Okay. I recorded this on Christmas. Funny enough, I'm not posting it today because it's Christmas and it's a fucked up topic to post on Christmas. But for everyone who sees this, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I hope everyone's doing well in these COVID fucky times. And yeah, take care of each other. Love each other. Choose love. Peace.